Greetings, everyone. Today I want to talk to you about Holger Hoock's book, Scars of Independence, America's Violent Birth. This book basically argues that the American Revolution was violent. That might not seem very profound, but it actually is. In the field of history, historians have to engage in something called historiography. Historiography is basically the collective conversation of all historians who have written on a topic. So every historian who's written on the American Revolution is engaging in the historiography. So historians who are agreeing with other historians or historians who are disagreeing with other historians, think of this as a big conversation, a big debate. That's what we call the historiography. And in the historiography of the American Revolution, it has been argued predominantly that the American Revolution was a civilized revolution. Now, of course, there's a war for independence. The American Revolution is bigger than just the war. But of course, the war is violent. People understand that there's violence in war. But what Hoock is looking at is sort of the revolution as a whole. And he's arguing, this was a violent revolution. You see, people often compare the American Revolution to things like the Haitian Revolution or the French Revolution, where things, really seem to have gotten out of hand when it comes to violence against people, especially non-combatants, violence against property. And so that's really what Hoock's looking at. This is not a book about battles of the American Revolutionary War. This is a book about American society and the violence that engulfed it during the years that we call the American Revolution. So he looks at things before the war, right? Things like the protest to the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts. And then he looks at things, outside of the battlefield, violence against women, violence against, Africans, African slaves, or loyalists, patriots, the burning of plantations. And one of the interesting things he looks at is the treatment of prisoners, right? Treatment of prisoners by the British, treatment of prisoners by the Americans. And he engages in a lot of areas, that haven't really been looked at. As I mentioned earlier, the American Revolution has been studied as a civilized revolution. A revolution carried out by gentlemen. But some of the things he looks at, the treatment of prisoners really, to me, was one of the darkest parts of the book. As many of you probably know, I'm a veteran. I'm a combat veteran, and being captured by the enemy was a terrifying concept to me. I never wanted to be captured by the enemy. And reading about the treatment of prisoners of war during the American Revolutionary War was very disturbing to me. He did a good job, describing what it was like on these prison ships and things like that. So I think this is a very important book for scholars. I don't think that casual historians or hobby historians, I don't think they would appreciate this book. This book is definitely written for an academic audience. I'm not telling, casual historians not to read the book, but it is written in a manner that is, more for contributing to the historiography and engaging in that scholarly conversation among academics. This book was recommended to me by my friend and mentor, Dr. Troy Kickler. And it took me a while to get to it, to read it, but it was a very good read. I recommend it to all historians who study the Revolutionary period. And again, I'm not going to not recommend it for, fans of Revolutionary American history. Definitely there are things in here, worth learning about. I just don't know that it's sort of it's not the popular history narrative that is sometimes easy to read. But I definitely recommend it for my peers in the profession. Thank you.